Okay, there we go. We should now be live for the 9th session of our Star Wars Heart of Darkness campaign. In the last session, our heroes, in inverted commas, went to the storm-lashed city of Tsunador, where they'd been sent by the criminal mastermind of Cols 2, Barabbas, a quarren of wealthy pockets and some ill repute. He'd sent them there to meet up with a hacker connection of his, a Rhodian by the name of Birdo, who apparently had a sort of line on some illegal weapons manufacture that was apparently taking place on the planet. Now, Barabbas, being a criminal, had his fingers in an awful lot of pies, wanted to make sure he got a cut of this illegal weapons manufacture wherever it might be taking place. So they travelled to Tsunador to meet up with Birdo. As they arrived there, they fell afoul of the Imperial Customs Bureau's more stringent checks that they're performing now that this Lakari beetle plague is devastating the sector. In a scene reminiscent of many an action movie, our three heroes chose to ride out like some sort of Wild West heroes down the ramp of their ship straight through the patrol of Stormtroopers coming to investigate their ship on 3 stolen speeder bikes, which they did with great aplomb, only then to realise that as they had left the ship, the Stormtroopers had gone onto the ship, locked it up, and had effectively confiscated it by default. As they were considering what to do with this and sort of avoiding weapons fire from their own vessel, now crewed by the Stormtroopers, they spotted a large tidal wave heading towards this sort of platform-built city of Tsunador on the ocean world of Cols 2, and alarm klaxons blared out saying that a Category 5 wavefront was approaching the city. They rode away as fast as they could on their speeder bikes from this approaching tidal wave. They were just about able to avoid the crashing waves, one of them only escaping due to their Deveronian companion, the ex-bounty hunter Zeph Erlel, helping Yatu escape from the waves. And as Yatu looked back, the last thing he saw was this Deveronian getting engulfed by this colossal wave, carrying this tide of debris and detritus with it. So we join our 3 heroes as they're still sort of riding ahead of this storm front. Their speeder bike engines starting to get quite hot. There being a distinctive whine coming from the engines as they're sort of pushing them beyond the limit. These roiling waves still crashing down behind them and advancing on their position, and floating above the waves, taking the odd pot shot at them, is their former vessel, the Night Dragon, now crewed by Stormtroopers. As you look up, you can just see a Stormtrooper in one of the gun turrets taking pot shots at you as you swerve, trying to avoid the raining debris and these crashing waves. But before we actually get into making rolls and cracking on with the session, I'm going to ask each of our players to introduce themselves. So, in no particular order, we have Becky.
Hi, I'm Becky Rose from the channel Pair of Geeks, and today I'm going to be playing Gribbly Cowled. And Gribbly is somewhat manipulative and is kind of using the rest of the party to her own ends.
Splendid. And then we have Johannes.
Hello, as John said, I'm Johannes, and I'm playing Yatu Deng, the most ambitious nobody in the Castellaw sector. Yatu is a 2-bit gangster, maybe 3-bit now. He's a shallow young Mirlan who's in it for the money, and yeah, that's about it. That's his whole deal.
Okay, thank you very much. And last but by no means least, we have Jay.
Yeah, my name is Jason, and I'm the other half of Pair of Geeks, and I'm playing the Rhodian known as Crude Bosmore, who was the organic father of the Night Dragon, and is currently mourning this terrible thing that has happened. But I'm sure one day he will get something bigger and something better. But in the meantime, he is absolutely pushing his piloting skills to the limit with these speed bikes, trying desperately not to drown on this godforsaken planet.
Okay, splendid. So we rejoin the action with the three of you, as I've said, pushing these speeder bikes to their absolute limit. All of you can feel it's like a vibration running through the chassis of your speeder bikes. Any of you can just about have sensitive hearing, you can hear it over the crashing of the waves and the roaring of the Night Dragon's engines high in the air above you and the sound of blaster fire raining down around you. You can hear this high-pitched screech emanating from the engine of your speeder bike. Like I said, the front of the chassis, the bit where you're sitting, has started to get very warm indeed, as these things aren't really meant to be pushed at these speeds for this prolonged period of time, as you're trying to, certainly not the high speed maneuvers you guys are trying to do to dodge this debris that's raining down around you. Yatu, as you look backwards, having landed on a speeder bike, you're just in time to see the Deveronian Zephalel, your previous companion, behind you, as he's sort of reaching out, trying to get onto the speeder bike with you, and then there's this and this huge wavefront just engulfs him. For a few moments you glimpse this dark silhouetted figure within the water, and then he's whipped away by the force of the currents. What are you guys doing?
How big is the wavefront compared to Tsunador itself? Is it taller? Is it going to swipe all over the city? Or
it looks as though the wavefront is so large that it's effectively going to wash all over the city. Now, from what you saw before the wavefront came crashing in, you know that this place is obviously battered by weather a lot of the time. You can see the buildings are reinforced. They're all sort of weather stations. They're built to take this sort of thing. But as you're sort of racing ahead, you can see that the streets are sort of rapidly clear. Everyone's taking shelter in buildings, etc. So you would guess that perhaps it's not too much of a unique thing to have these large weather fronts vexing the planet.
Yeah.
Question, actually. In terms of the actual city, I believe, if it's accurate to Roll20, it's almost kind of standing on various supports and things like that, so therefore there's room underneath.
Indeed, if you think about it, effectively it's a large sort of city-sized oil rig style platform with these huge metal legs descending into the oceans that make up much of the surface of Coals too.
Okay, in that case I try and after sort of looking mournfully at my ship in the air, I'm going to try and beckon to the others to follow me underneath if I can, if find any kind of opening. I'm assuming they're not too close to the edge, but some way of getting underneath the city.
Okay,
and then we'll be sheltered from the wave.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you for a roll to see if you manage to spot a way to get under the city. Now, you'll have an easier time of it if you use your focus. However, doing so will mean you'll have to slow down and throttle back a bit, which obviously, if you fail, puts you at more danger from the wavefront. Or you could do it using your haste approach, which will make it more difficult, but you don't have to slow down. That's just you whizzing around, looking for something quickly.
I'm gonna attune my thoughts to the task at hand and try and get all the chaos out of my mind, so I'm going to go with the focus.
Okay, not a problem.
So can you just remind me, since it's been ages, how to do this on Roll20?
Yeah, it's /R space 4DF plus whatever your approach is.
Thank you. It's average. I wouldn't mind invoking an aspect with this one.
Okay, what aspect are you suggesting you invoke?
I am the luckiest pilot this side of the Outer Rim.
Yeah, I think luck will certainly play a role here. That's absolutely fine. So if you want to spend a fate point to invoke that, you can do so. Are you going to re-roll or add a +2?
No, I have +2 to that.
Okay, that's fine. Right, as you're racing along, you've sort of throttled down a little bit so you can look around. You try and position yourself behind some of the larger buildings to give you some shelter in case the wavefront does come across. And as you're glancing around, you can see what appear to be they look like possibly old service ramps or old sort of maintenance ramps, perhaps from when the platform was being built. They look as though that they're blocked by debris and they've been closed off. However, you think maybe you could get yourself through there. It'd involve a bit of fancy sort of piloting of these speeders. So like I said, there's a lot of debris. If you imagine like it's almost as though someone's been doing roadworks at the top of these ramps and then it's just like, oh, forget this, and just like packed up and left like all the sort of tape across the ramp. There's various sort of like bollards, etc., and bits of industrial waste that have just been dumped there by people who couldn't be bothered to get rid of it safely. But you could possibly pick your way through.
Okay. In that case, as I said, I back into the others and I start speeding up once again and head over.
Okay, so Yato and Gribbly, you sort of look back, seeing that your companion Crude has slowed down his speeder bike a bit. You see him heading towards one of these old, disused service ramps, sort of beckoning the two of you.
Are there any, like, what's the residential situation going on here? Are there like stacks of flats or?
Yeah, if you imagine this, although most of it is sort of industrial buildings here in these weather control centres, it appears as though what residential areas there are, which are obviously mainly built for the workers in the weather stations, they're effectively just like huge blocks of flats sort of built on top of each other, no doubt to preserve the sort of precious small amount of space that there is on the actual rig.
Yeah, okay. In that case, I would just go along with Crude. Unless he slows down too much, then I'm going to figure something out on my own, but if he proceeds down to the service tunnels, then
Yeah, Gribbly sort of drops it down a gear with the engine screaming, kicks it sideways and heads for the ramp as well.
Okay, no problem. You all race towards this ramp. As you're getting towards it, you can see that the entire ramp's clogged up with old industrial containers, waste, what look to be the parts of like vehicles and maybe spare masonry and bits and pieces from these buildings that surround it on either side. As you reach the top of it, yourself first, Crude obviously being in the lead, as you look down, as you can see, it runs sort of at a shallow angle down. Then it appears to run to what looks to be a sort of maze of pipes and almost like scaffolding, which you think must be part of the supports that help to hold up the structure itself. You think it's going to be fairly sort of hazardous piloting it, because obviously it's not nice smooth roads. It's like narrow pipes and tubes running underneath the main structure. But you know, if you were lucky or particularly skillful, you might be able to pilot your speeder bike down there.
Okay, so because Crude is a bit ditzy and doesn't necessarily think of other people that much, he's just going to think to himself, oh, this wasn't exactly what I was planning, but he knows he can do it, so he's just going to carry on. He's not going to think, oh, will the others be able to follow? He just does it.
Okay, no problems. You open up the speeder bike. The whine from the engine has died away a little since you've given it a little bit of time to like cool down by throttling back. You zip down this ramp. Which of the two of you is going next? Is it going to be Yatu or Gribbly next down the ramp? Assuming you're going down the ramp.
I'm up for it, unless Gribbly is really gunning for it.
Well, I'm certainly not hanging around, but I'm also definitely screaming at Crude as I realise what's in front of us as we go down the ramp, swearing, which I won't repeat, because it transpires that in moments of sheer panic, Gribbly can really be foul-mouthed.
Okay, so Crude and Yatu zip down the ramp. Gribbly, you're just about to head down the ramp yourself when you're sort of looking across to where this wavefront's rushing towards the city. You can just about make out what appear to be three large sort of flat shapes, or think of like sort of like stingray style shapes riding on top of this wave. And as you glance, you can see what appeared to be a number of small figures on top of these giant stingrays that appear to be like riding this wave towards the city of Tsunador. As you're looking, you see a couple of blaster bolts lance out from their direction towards the night dragon, which is still sort of hovering in the air.
Okay, Crude, I think you're in front, so...
Yeah, well, I'm just going to carry on. My general plan is to try and get far enough in that there isn't going to be like water spilling in and therefore, you know, crushing us or drowning us. But maybe try and get to an area that's sort of bigger, wider, where we can sort of like settle for an hour or so and wait until everything blows over, as it were. I'm not even going to sort of look behind at this point. I'm just going to go all for it.
Okay, can you please make me a focus roll? It's going to be an extremely difficult roll due to the narrowness of these pipes and soundings that you're navigating on, so you'll need at least a 4 on this roll.
Is it 4DF plus the number?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to spend a stunt if I may.
Yep. So what's the stunt?
The stunt is I'll try spinning. That's a good trick, which allows me to have +2 flair when overcoming any kind of light, as it were.
Okay, normally that would only apply to a flare roll rather than a focus roll. But I
Oh,
think
right, okay, sorry.
But what I was going to say, I think given the circumstances, though, given it is a fairly sort of flare-full like manoeuvre you're doing, zipping along these pipes, I'm fine with it for this circumstance.
Okay.
So
Right,
you don't need to spend a fate point. It's just a stunt. It gives you just the +2 anyway.
Cool,
so
cool.
okay, so as you're watching Yatu, you see Crude zip down this ramp onto this narrow, creaking, rickety assemblage of tubes and pipes that are sort of this quite tottering sort of old structure that was probably used to originally build this larger sort of rig that Tsunador sits on, but hasn't really been used for quite some time since it's not needed. And you watch as Crude sort of wobbles a bit dangerously on the speeder bike as he zips down and then rights himself and begins zipping off along these pipes.
So Crude's going down to the scaffolding, and you mentioned the night dragon. Can we see to the top? Can we see the night dragon from here?
At the minute, Crude wouldn't be able to see it because he's like in the sort of substructure
he's down
underneath it. You're sort of halfway down the ramp, so you'd probably just about be able to see it. Gribbly, who's at the top of the ramp, would certainly be able to see it.
I don't do well in the situations that come up so often in Star Wars where you're flying in tight, confined spaces and you lose your radar dish. So I think I'm going to have second thoughts halfway down the ramp. And I'm going to spin my bike around and try to go up the ramp back to the top side.
That's fine. You don't need a roll for that. That's absolutely grand.
Yeah.
You're just turning around and heading back up. So, Gribbly, as you're zooming down the ramp, you see sort of halfway down Yatu basically like 360s his bike around. you see one of his boots like scraping against the ground as he leans to one side. Then he starts zipping back up the ramp, passing you as you're on the way down.
Yeah, I'll be going fun, getting it over to the side, and my leg is sort of up against the outside wall, trying to sort of hold on as I scrape past him.
Yeah.
There's a stream of profanity from Gribbly as she shoots past you on this speeder bike, Yatu, which is sort of like mercifully like torn away by the sounds of the water and the creaking of the substructure, and then Gribbly is gone shooting past you, and you're now heading towards the top of the ramp.
Yeah. What's the night dragon doing? And where is it?
Okay, as you arrive at the top of the ramp, looking up, you can see the night dragon is pretty much sort of hovering quite some distance above where you are. As you're looking, you can also see these these strange sort of like giant, almost like manta ray creatures that I described to Gribbly. With there must be about sort of 3 people on the back of each of them. Each of these 3 creatures. You can see some of them are obviously holding blaster weapons, because you can't make out the details at this distance. You can see like the flashes of blaster shots that they're shooting at the Night Dragon. As you watch the Night Dragon returns fire, you hear the familiar sort of dull thumping of the Night Dragon's weapons, and you see beams of light lancing out in their direction.
Okay. How much time do I have before the wave just takes me away?
Very, very little. You've got maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah. I want to use my utility belt. So it's a stunt that I have that says by spending a fate point, I can reach into my toolkit to produce equipment. So I'm going to spend that. And just put it down somewhere that I have 2. Okay. And yep. So what I do is I reach into my toolkit. I bring out this battery that's just several batteries duct taped together into one giant battery, and I take out the paneling from my speeder bike. I just very crudely hot wire, basically just like stick it in there, pull out some wires, plug them in the battery pack. And my idea here is to put the bike into overdrive and basically burn it out, doing what I'm planning to do next. But this is what I'm doing right now. I'm like hooking my extra battery into the bike.
Okay, not a problem. At this point, I'm going to ask you to make me a haste roll, difficulty 2, and this is just to see whether you manage to get all this done before the wavefront reaches you.
Yep. Blah. Ooh. I can. What are we talking about here? Probably death by wave.
Well, you're certainly going to get hit by the wavefront, which could obviously mean you take damage from being battered by the debris and into things. And if you're very unlucky, it could lead to you being washed off the side of the structure.
I could spend one of my 2 fate points to bump that up by 2 because I am a tech-savvy outlaw.
Okay, no problems. So with that, you're looking up, you can see this wavefront rolling towards you. Inside it, you can just about make out bits of cable and planks and bits of metal that are all being swept up in this huge wave of debris rolling towards you. Now, Gribbly, you've raced down this ramp. Looking ahead of you, you can see Crude zipping around on this very rickety looking substructure below the main rig. What do you want to do?
Well, I don't want to loiter. My main goal is to find somewhere away from this wave. Now, originally I was just going to go into a building, but Crude had this idea, and at the moment I'm putting my faith into Crude. So I'm kind of just following him.
Okay, not a problem. Have we got Crude there at the moment, or is Jay stepped away? Oh, no problems. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll jump back to Yatu for a few moments. We'll pick up with the 2 of you when Jay gets back. So, Yatu, I think I know what you've got in mind, but...
Yeah, basically I want to create an aspect of basically overdrive to use later.
Okay, that's fine. So make an intellect roll, or I'd say you could perhaps use focus if you prefer.
I think intellect is the way that I reflect my tech stuff.
Okay, so it's difficulty 2, so make your roll to create an advantage.
Oh, God. Okay. Well,
it's not your day today.
No,
is it?
no. Well, I'm just gonna invoke the tech-savvy outlaw again with my last fate point. So.
Okay, so you've got one free invoke of overdrive. You jam this sort of jury-rigged battery pack into your speeder bike. You hook up some wires. You can feel the extra power sort of thrumming through the machine. But as you're looking at it, you can see like the metal casing around the sort of engine of the speeder bike has already started to like heat up and sort of glow a slightly dull red colour. You think it's the speeder bike, if you keep sort of like pushing it with this battery pack, it's probably not long for this world. It's not meant to operate like
Nope.
this.
So what I plan to do next, and this is one of the times where Yatu is sort of like he stops for just a second to think how insane this thing that he's about to do is, and then just pushes that down. And yeah, my idea is I'm going to try to use one of the residential modules, the stacks of buildings, basically kick the bike onto the wall and gun the engines so that they almost blow off, use that as a ramp, and try to fling myself on top of the Night Dragon. That's what I want to do.
Okay, it's certainly very Star Wars. I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, I think this is probably going to be a focus roll, I'd say, and it's going to be a difficulty 4.
Oh boy!
Don't forget, you still have your free invoke though of overdrive.
Yeah, of overdrive. Luckily. What's flare used for?
Flare is basically sort of show off stuff, basically. So I think you could make an argument for using it in this, given what you're attempting. If you want to use it for this, I certainly wouldn't object. It's a very sort of cinematic thing that you're attempting. Basically, flare's anything that you'd see in an action movie that probably wouldn't happen in real life, is the way I look at it.
I guess this is one of those times.
Yeah, most definitely.
Let's see how that works. And the pre-invoke gives me a +2.
Okay, so Gribbly, you're just heading down the ramp following after Crude. You glance over your shoulder as you hear this sort of loud roaring noise, and as you watch, you see Yatu sort of jam something that looks like a load of like power packs, like gaffer taped together, into the side of his speeder bike. He drives straight towards one of these large sort of residential tower blocks. As he gets level with it, he sort of jumps the bike slightly and actually races up the side of the building. You can hear this horrible screaming noise of his engine as this thing's as he soars up this tower block. And you watch as unbelievably he soars through the air. The speeder bike like lands on top of the Night Dragon. It slides out from under you, Yatu. The speeder bike spins off the side of the ship. However, you manage to like grab onto the top of the Night Dragon, so you're sort of now holding onto it. Your speeder bike clatters off the edge of it and falls down to the ground below.
Everybody's suddenly a stunt pilot.
Okay, so Gribbly and Crude, what are the two of you doing? You're both on this substructure underneath the Tsunador.
Is there anywhere that, as I said, we can sort of stop for a minute and sort of take a breath, or is it really, really precarious all the way?
It's quite precarious. However, as you're looking around, you can see a number of what appear to be almost like sort of small like box rooms. Perhaps they were used to like store equipment in, or for the workmen to sort of stay in whilst they were building this substructure and the rest of the city.
Okay. I was just wondering if they sealed.
Are they sealed?
You can see doors on them. Obviously, at the minute you haven't had time to ascertain whether they're locked or anything like that, because you are literally sort of like racing through this substructure.
Okay, well, I'll head over to the nearest one. Again, back into Gribbly. And even to just pull up the bikes for a minute.
Okay, if you guys are doing that, can you both make me haste rolls, please? The difficulty is 2. And this is just generally to see whether you get to one of these buildings and investigate it before the wavefront hits.
Good.
You need to put a slash in it, Becky.
I'm on it. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so at the minute you would not be making it, Becky. Do you want to stick with that roll?
Yeah, why not? Let's see where failure takes us.
Okay, splendid. So, Crude, you make it to one of these small sort of box buildings, and then they're only really large enough to fit sort of like 2 or 3 people in them. As you get level with it, you can see that it doesn't appear to have been sealed. Rather, like a lot of this substructure, it looks to have been pretty much just sort of abandoned when the work on the main city was finished. You managed to sort of like pull your bike up because you wouldn't be able to fit it inside the room and get inside there yourself. You open the door, sort of looking back to where you can see Gribbly sort of riding a little more shakily than you, obviously not being quite such a skilled pilot, along this sort of substructure towards this room. However, just as Gribbly's about to get to this workman's hut, effectively this small metal box, there is a massive sound of whooshing water and the wavefront hits the substructure. You watch as a torrent of dark water capped with white foam whooshes through the area that you're occupying, and you watch as it engulfs Gribbly and she disappears from view. The wave hits against the door that you've been holding open and sort of slams the door shut, throwing you backwards into the far wall of this small room that you're in. Crude.
Okay, so as I'm sort of staggering up, I immediately look for some kind of rope, but I know if it's such a huge wave, it's probably futile at this point. So I run out and sort of stagger over to the edge of where this wave was and just do a dramatic sort of Gribbly.
Okay, and this is where, for dramatic purposes, Gribbly, as you sort of like, as the water engulfs you and you're being swept towards the edge of this structure, you look up and the last thing you see before it all goes dark is the sort of green hand of Crude sort of reaching out towards you and like shouting your name, and then this water washes over you, everything goes dark, and all you can hear is the rushing of water in your ears. And we'll jump back to you in a moment. Meanwhile, crazy stuntman on top of the Night Dragon. Now, obviously, you're on top of the Night Dragon. There's rain lashing down. There's thunder crashing. It's quite difficult for you to hold on to the Night Dragon. It's very slippery. And obviously, it's manoeuvring about trying to dodge these blaster bolts. However, now you are on the top against this sort of stinging rain. You can make out these giant manta rays. There appear to be these... Well, you're not sure. They look like Twi'leks or maybe Nortolans. You're not entirely sure. They've certainly got head tails. You can see there's 3 of them on the back of each of these 3 manta rays. There appears to be one of them riding the manta ray in some way you're not sort of familiar with. They just have like hands placed on the flat of it and then knelt down. You can see the 2 behind each of the riders appear to be holding blasters. These blaster rifles look very familiar to you. They look like the unmarked blaster rifles that you once held in the hold of the Night Dragon. As you watch, you can see them firing at the Night Dragon, which is returning fire. The one good thing about that is they don't really seem to have noticed you. They're too intent on dealing with these people who are firing at them.
Okay, so I'm barely hanging on. There's driving rain, and are we above the wave front or below?
You're above the wavefront. The reason the Night Dragon has sort of risen so high is to get clear of it. So as you look down, you actually see the wavefront washing across Tsunador, and you see it carrying these giant manta rays with these Twi'leks and Nortolans on the back of them. You can see they're all covered in these red, very sort of tribal-looking tattoos. They're all sort of stripped to the waist, wearing only breeches, effectively.
Yeah, I make a note of these guys and their guns, and I'm very happy about that, but very concerned about dying very soon. Would it be too far out to say that there's probably some sort of a wire hook that you can clip on when you're doing like repairs in space on the outer hull of the ship?
I think, given, as we've all seen, the sort of like the YT-1300 has like numerous bits and pieces like sticking out implausibly from its hull. I think even if there wasn't a specific sort of hook, you'd be able to find something you could hook yourself onto. Yeah, that's not a problem.
So my thinking is I want to have something to hold on to as I very precariously swing over the side. I presume it's not doing like crazy like spins.
No, it's more sort of banking. It's trying to hold its position, but it's obviously trying to sort of jink and bank a little bit to avoid the worst of these blaster shots that are coming at it. You watch as one of them like pings off the hull, maybe about 5 feet to your left. You see like a few like shards of metal from the ship's hull go like spinning off and plop with a crash into the water behind you.
Yeah, I want to swing down the side. No, wait. It only has a rear entrance, right?
It basically has a rear entrance, yeah.
Mm.
There is a side ramp for loading cargo on.
Yeah, I want to go there. So clip myself onto the hull, or like grab onto like a rail on the side, and get down to the side ramp door, or the ramp itself if it's just a ramp that lowers, and I want to try and open it.
Okay, so you swing down. That's not a problem because you've clipped yourself on. I'm going to say you need some sort of like intellect roll to effectively like bypass the locking mechanism, and it is going to be a difficulty 3 roll. Normally it'll be difficulty 2 for you, but obviously you're like hanging from the side of the ship in a storm, so it's a bit more difficult.
Yeah, there's other stuff going on.
Yeah, there's a few distractions about.
Yeah, so I'm hanging on with one hand to the rail and just punching code into. I presume there's like a pad on the door or the ramp, and it's just not my day today.
Okay, you punch the standard code in that obviously you guys set to like access the ship. However, it flashes up with like an access denied. The stormtroopers who've occupied the ship must have like reset the codes when they took the ship. So your sort of like normal like open code isn't working. You try a couple of others and it's just like
Yeah. Can I do a compel here?
What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting to use my haters gonna hate trouble aspect to say that I tripped their alarms right now, and they know that someone's in the hall. Someone's trying to get in.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll give you a fate point for that. Okay, as you're sort of like messing around with it, as you rightly say, your attempts to open it have obviously registered on the computer systems, the control system of the ship. The alarms are going off effectively inside, you would suspect. The ramp hisses down a little, and as you're sort of like up, at least the ramp's open, and you swing around ready to like get on the ramp, and you find yourself facing a stormtrooper holding a blaster sort of pointed dead at you. And as you swing around at the ramp, he squeezes a trigger, and you see this red bolt of blaster energy issue forth from it, heading towards you. So I'm going to make an attack roll for the stormtroopers. Well, stormtrooper. If you would like to make me a defense roll.
I'm wondering how one might defend oneself against blaster fire.
Well, the obvious way of defending yourself is not to be where they fired the blaster bomb.
Yeah, or be a Jedi, I guess.
Well, yeah, being a Jedi practically works for every test. But I would suggest, you could possibly use haste. So obviously you are still clipped onto the outside, so maybe you could swing out of the way of it and back onto the ramp.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, that works. So let's go with haste. Ooh.
Okay, so I don't do any damage. However, I do get a boost. So I'm going to say that you have unsteady footing.
Yeah, I'm flinging
so
about.
Basically, that's it, exactly. You swing out, dodging this blaster bolt, and you swing back in. However, as you land, you're like right on the edge of the ramp, sort of like pinwheeling your arms around a bit. The back half of your feet sort of hanging over the edge.
Yeah.
And also you can see this stormtrooper sort of like readjusting his aim on his blaster rifle.
Yeah, I'm hanging on by my toenails to the ship.
Indeed.
Yep.
What are you going to do?
I'm gonna try and tackle him inside the ship so that I won't fall off.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So make yourself an attack roll. I'd say this will probably be force.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, let me just make his defense roll.
Oh boy.
Okay, so you attempt to tackle this stormtrooper. However, as you get near him, he basically brings the butt of his blaster rifle up and sort of smacks you in the chin with it. Not hard enough to cause you any damage. You're both being thrown about by the movement of the ship. However, it drives you right back to the edge of this ramp. In fact, knocking you over the edge. You're just sort of like hanging on by one hand now. You can see this stormtrooper sort of like stepping over you and pointing his blaster rifle down at you. You stare up into the black abyss of this stormtrooper's barrel, and you hear the of it charging up ready to fire. Then he squeezes the trigger and fires down at you.
Fuck.
Okay, would you like to make a defense roll?
Not that it matters mechanically that much, but I'm gonna go for guile this time, and I'm gonna try and, like, because I'm hanging on by my hands, I'm gonna try and grab his ankles and just get him off balance.
Okay, go for it. Okay, you sort of reach up for his ankles as he squeezes the trigger. You take 5 levels of stress as this blaster bolt pretty much hits you square in the chest, just near where your heart is.
Oh. Well, we have 6 stress boxes, so I'm gonna use 5 of those.
Yep. That's it. You're still just hanging on, but you're literally like hanging on by like a couple of fingers now.
Yeah.
You're sort of swaying dangerously.
Yes.
One of your other arm is hanging down sort of uselessly as you feel
steam
this terrible pain
going off in the rain.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You although you can't see his face, you can almost sense like the smirk on this stormtrooper's face as he like continues aiming. He's got you dead to rights with his blaster rifle, and you hear this slightly modulated voice go, "Criminal scum," and then you hear the of his blaster rifle charging.
I propose that we cut to our 2 other scoundrels here.
Indeed. I think that's a dramatic time to cut away. And in fact, we're going to cut away to Gribbly. Gribbly, you are swept along by this torrent of water. You shoot over the edge of this platform where Tsunador is built. And as you look down to the vast sort of ocean that covers the surface of this world, you can see it rushing up beneath you. Down below, you can see another 2 of these large sort of manta ray-like creatures with a few of these like Nortolans and Twi'leks covered in these red tribal tattoos, sort of standing on the back of them as you sort of like start plummeting down towards the water.
If I have any kind of control at all over my fall, I'm going to aim for these manta-like creatures and see if I can kind of land on the back of them in the most graceful way as it's possible to do so when falling at tremendous speed, being carried along by water.
Okay, well, you do have a little bit of control because obviously you're still on the bike at this point as you're being swept off. You could possibly use the bike to like boost yourself off and like jump off the bike. Okay, so would you like to make me a roll?
Diving style.
I'm open to what approach you want to use. Certainly, flare would be appropriate given what you're doing.
Flare. This is...
Okay, it's difficulty 2.
Hey.
Okay, not a problem. As your bike sort of starts dropping out from underneath you, since it's got no solid surface to hover off, you sort of brace yourself on the seat of the bike and spring off from it. For a few moments as you sail through the air, you think you've missed your target and you're going to hit this water, which you know at the distance you're falling, you would just like hit it like concrete, and it'd be very painful indeed. Then you're relieved as you hit this almost soft, sort of spongy exterior of one of these giant manta rays. You land on its back, sort of rolling to a stop. Like I say, its flesh is sort of like soft, almost semi-gelatinous and spongy. You can hear shouts from these three Nortolans who are stood on the back of it as they obviously see you like plummet out of the sky and land on their manta ray.
Nice. Adjust my coat a little as I land. Hi. Nice to meet you.
As you said, one of the Nortolans hefts one of these blaster rifles and points it in your direction, and he shouts something at you in a very primitive sounding language that you probably don't understand.
Does anyone here speak basic?
The one holding the blaster rifle says, "We can all speak basic."
Good. Let's well, there's guns involved here. Let's not have guns. Hi. My name's Gribbly. How do you do?
He doesn't like shake your hand or anything. He still keeps the blaster rifle trained on you, and he says, "Who are you?
Oh, I'm Gribbly. I basically arrived here to do some trade, and the Imperials stole my ship. There it is up there now, being stolen by Imperials. So, thought I'd come here, say hi, introduce myself."
Okay, at this point, can you make me a flair roll? It's difficulty 3.
Oh dear. So,
he doesn't seem convinced.
I get it. You know, new people can never really trust in this guy. You know, so I'm carrying a gun. I understand. It's a little tiny pistol, much smaller than yours. So, let me see. What can I do to make this better? Well, you know what? I did just literally fall from the heavens. This is time for you to use a really, really crude chat-up line. Come on.
You notice the Nortolan holding the weapon smirks, and he says, "Look, we do not have time to deal with you now. If you remain quiet, we'll let you remain conscious. Otherwise, we will stun you and take you back with us to Redwater." And he sort of gestures with his blaster rifle.
And I kind of acknowledge it, and yeah, I'll be quiet.
Okay, so we're going to cut back to Crude now. Crude, you sort of watch as Gribbly disappears over the side of the structure and is lost to your view. Obviously, you can't see down below. A few moments later, you hear this loud splash as the speeder bike hits the surface of the ocean. You've no idea what's happened to Gribbly. What do you do?
Okay, so as I said, I was sort of looking for any kind of rope or chain or something like that, and then I'm starting to wonder, okay, how feasible would it be to launch my speed bike over the edge and just kind of pull it down without the engines failing or anything like that?
Well, it's certainly feasible to launch yourself over the edge. However, as soon as it's more than like a few feet away from a solid surface, the speeder bike will obviously start falling downwards.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly possible to launch yourself over the edge. It's the landing that's the issue.
Yeah. I'm thinking. Okay, right. I go back into this sort of equipment box, if you will, and I'm sort of looking around at stuff, like thinking of ideas in order to scale down there as soon as possible.
Okay, there's a variety of different sort of implements in here. There's like a welding cutting torch in here. There's a length of metal chain. There's a few sort of smaller metal girders in here. There's what appear to be some clamps, you know, like clamping materials together. General sort of building supplies in here that are left over from when the main structure was built.
Is there any kind of hook, like a large hook?
If you want to spend a fate point, I will say there is a large hook in there.
Okay.
So you can spend a fate point to declare a story detail.
Okay.
So.
I'll say there is a large hook in here that would have been like attached to a chain, obviously, in order to pull big shit up.
Yeah, if you'd like to elaborate on that to make it a bit more useful to you, feel free to do so.
Yes, absolutely. So, what I'm hoping to do, if I can, is I'm still going to launch off this edge with a speed bike, with this chain and hook in one hand to hopefully scrape the side of something at least, or maybe even to catch something near the bottom in order to hook it round and eventually break my fall.
Okay, not a problem. So if I'm correct, you're hoping to drive over the edge, hook something as you do so, and use the rope to like arrest your fall.
Or possibly even just sort of catch friction in order to slow down, just something, anything.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I'll say if you can make me a flare roll, difficulty 4.
Okay, right. Here we go. Okay. You know what? I'm going to keep it like that for now. Just because I'm low on fate points.
Okay, not a problem. So you ride over the edge of this substructure. As you do so, you hook this chain onto one of the sort of larger pipes, hoping it can arrest your fall. And for a moment, it appears that all's working fine. You sail off the edge of the structure, sort of plummeting downwards towards the water below. As you're plummeting downwards, you can now see these two like large manta rays below. You can see Gribbly on the back of one of them with 3 Nortolans. Everything seems to be going fine when suddenly there is this loud creaking, like crashing sound. And as you look back, you can see that the chain has basically like pulled the back off your speeder bike as it's sort of like jerked back. And you're basically now sat on just like the engineless front of your speeder bike, which is obviously plummeting rapidly down towards the water.
Okay. I take off my jacket and try and use it as like a little parachute.
Okay.
Wow.
Right. You
Oh God.
You think that there's fairly little chance that your sort of jacket's going to prove an adequate parachute to stop you like plunging into the water below. However, Gribbly, as you're stood on the back of this large manta ray at sort of like ocean level, as you look up, you see Crude like plummeting down with his chain trailing behind him. Then there's this. It's just the back's torn off his speeder bike, and you see him sort of like panicking, like taking his jacket off and like holding it above him. The wind sort of like whipping this jacket around. It looked at first you think, no, couldn't be. But it appears he's trying to use his jacket as some sort of a parachute. Now, you're no sort of aeronautics like engineer, Gribbly, but you may suspect that the whole like jacket parachute isn't going to work out terribly.
I am never following that kid again, ever. When he gets an idea, he can do it alone.
Cruise used to space. You don't have to worry about falling anywhere in space. This gravity nonsense.
Okay, you see as the sort of the wrecked half of the bike that Crude's on like drops out from under it, sort of slows his fall for maybe a couple of seconds, and then he commences plummeting down towards the surface of the water at high speed. This jacket like trailing out behind him like a sort of like a punctured balloon.
Is this manta ray heading toward him or away?
It appears to be currently holding its position. It looks as though the Nortolans with the blaster rifles on the manta ray that you're on are sort of like looking at the structure. Maybe they're looking for any signs of like Imperial reinforcements or something, but they don't appear to be changing their position. You do notice one of the Nortolans like points at this like flailing Rhodian falling towards the water, and he says something in this strange sort of harsh language you don't understand, and the other two laugh
I'm going to point to him as well and say, he's from the ship as well. He'll tell you. Imperials. We're fighting the Imperials.
The Nortolan who originally threatened you, Gribbly, looks at you and says, from that ship, and he points up to where you can just about see this, like, the small outline of the Night Dragon above the structure of Tsunador.
That's right. The Night Dragon. We stole it from the Imperials, and they just took it back. But we're carrying on the fight. We're fighting Imperials. That's what we do.
Then where is Captain Corvant?
Oh, you must know the original owner.
What do you mean, original owner?
Well, you see, I joined them after this, so I actually wasn't there at the time, but I gather some former traveling companions of mine stole that ship from the Imperials. Perhaps that was Captain Corvant, maybe? Is Captain Corvant an Imperial?
No, Captain Corvant works for the Rebellion.
They stole that from the Rebellion. They lied to me.
There's a bit of sort of quick discussion between the three Nortolans in
I'm a
strange
rebel.
language. The Nortolan looks sort of like warily at you as though he's considering what you're saying. Is that anyone can claim to be of the Rebellion?
Well, yes, of course. Can we fetch that green thing out of the water, first of all, and then we'll sort this all out?
Okay, he nods curtly at you. At this point, as you plummet downwards, Crude, you hit the surface of the water. Can you please make me a force-based defense roll, just to see how much damage you take from hitting this water at high speed?
Probably a lot, considering my force is 0. Oh, okay. I'm surprised.
Okay, you take 4 levels of stress as you hit the surface of the water. It's almost like being hit in the chest with a brick, given the speed you're going. You plunge into this icy water, driving the wind out of you, and after a few moments you manage to sort of like splutteringly sort of like make your way to the surface. You can see this large grey manta ray like creature making its way slowly towards you, kicking up foam in its wake. There are 3 Nortolans on its back, basically. One of them is knelt down with his hands on the surface of the creature. 2 are behind it, are armed with blaster rifles. One is standing next to Gribbly. As you sort of plunge below the water, you can see what appear to be large tentacles like trailing below this creature underneath the water. Then as you reach the surface, you can see it heading towards you quite slowly.
Okay. Question, actually. Can Rhodians swim?
I don't believe they have any particular sort of like phobia against it. So if you want to say your character can swim, I'm quite happy to.
It's a jungle planet they come from, right?
Yeah.
There's a high chance of there being like low jungle where they could swim. So
yeah, I think they're probably like rivers and swamps and stuff like that. So it's not implausible you could swim.
Okay, cool. Okay. Well, he's gonna try and sort of flounder his way to the surface if possible, just away from the tentacles.
Okay, you splutter to the surface. Gribbly, just sort of like within arm's reach as this thing moves towards Crude, you can see the rodent spluttering, like reaches the surface.
I'll grab him from out of the water and drag him on board.
Okay, no problem. You're pulled up onto the back of this manta ray. you're sort of gasping and like coughing up water as Gribbly pulls you on board, Crude. You can see these 3 quite severe looking Nortolans stood on the back of it. They're all covered in these deep red tribal tattoos.
I found some rebel friends, Crude.
I didn't know that Nortolans were associated with the rebels. I thought you prefer to stay out of such things.
Every oppressed people needs to stand up for themselves, and sure these great tribal warriors will be very effective killing stormtroopers and lovely people too.
As Gribbly's sort of wittering on, I'm looking back down into the water to see if this tentacle thing has followed me up.
As you're looking down the water, you can see the tentacles actually appear to be coming from like the bottom of this like manta ray
Oh, I
creature.
see.
There must be part of it, but obviously they're under the water. You can still just about make them out, sort of like swirling around under the water. You spell that effectively what you're sitting on is like the sort of head of this creature, and like most of its body is probably underwater.
So Crew actually starts like shivering a little bit, and he's like, so how the hell did you survive that? I saw you go over by like hundreds of feet.
Yes, advanced rebellion combat training. It's nothing.
Oh. Okay.
Speaking of survival, let us zoom the camera momentarily many hundreds of feet up into the air, where a lone figure is sort of clinging by one hand to the edge of this ramp hanging below the Night Dragon, staring up into the barrel of a Stormtrooper's gun.
And he was basically powering the gun up, right, to shoot me in the face.
Indeed, yeah. You can hear the of it powering up.
So I want to dip into my utility belt again.
Okay.
Yep. It's the only one I got. And so what I want to do, I'm hanging on from, I suppose, the ramp with one hand. I'm smoking from the chest from where this blaster hit me. And I grimace. And I sort of momentarily jerk myself a bit closer and use my other hand to place a small tracker on the underside of the ship, and then I just let go.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. You'd have to make a roll for that. As you sort of reach up, you clap this tracker on the underside of the ramp. You see the like boop, boop, boop of the light on the bottom of it. As you let go and start falling backwards down towards the water, the Stormtrooper fires his weapon, obviously taking off a last shot at you. So I'm going to ask you to make me a defense roll.
Oh boy. How do you, because I can't really maneuver in the air. Am I just defending by like flexing my abs?
I would say you could. I was going to say you could perhaps use force to represent your like resilience to like.
Yeah, I can't really. Well, I guess I could flail, but that doesn't really do anything in the air.
You could potentially use haste because obviously you're falling downwards quite rapidly.
I guess I would use haste, even though force is better. I think haste fits better in this situation.
Okay.
Well, I guess then.
Okay, you take 4
Yeah, that's
stress.
going into my what's it called? Conditions.
Your conditions.
Into the hurt box.
Okay, and when you use your hurt, you basically name it to represent the sort of injury you've acquired, as Jay's done with the belly flopped. So what do you like to call it?
He's shooting me. I guess we could just go for like blaster scorched, because he's just burning me up with these blaster shots.
Okay, blaster scorched. Okay, so Crude and Gribbly, as you both sort of like you're looking up, you see sort of like high above where the night dragons are hovering over the water. You can just about make out if you strain your eyes the tiny figure of Yatu holding on to this ramp with one hand, and you watch as his hand appears from where you are like slip off, and you see him sort of flailing his arms around as he falls backwards towards the water.
Quick, use your jacket now.
No, we need to get the manta ray underneath. The manta ray is nice, soft and squishy. Quick, Nortolans, quick, look, another one of ours coming off the ship, just like I said happened. Now look, come on.
The poor manta ray.
The Nortolan looks at you and he says, "We are not your personal transport."
Rescue that rebel soldier. That's an...
Okay, make me a flare roll, Gribbly. Are you sticking with that roll?
Do I have to?
You don't have to. I mean, if you've got an aspect that you think's applicable, you could spend a fate point and either add a +2 or re-roll.
Well, there's... If these people really are rebel, because of my knowledge of the rebellion, I can always find a rebel contact once per session.
Okay, so would you like to declare one of these people as one of your rebel contacts? That's a stunt, so you don't have to spend a fate point. You can just do that. That's absolutely fine.
Okay, cool. Then, yeah, one of these guys is... Well, they genuinely are rebels, and so that's an order, soldier. And I'll name the the regional or sector commander for this part of space. And say, or I'll report you to Lieutenant Govnik or General Govnik or something.
Okay, he sort of smiles a little bit and nods. He turns round to the Nortolan who's got his hands on the creature, who's like on his knees, and jerks a thumb up in the direction of the falling Yatu. The Nortolan that's crouched over the creature leans down and in a very loud voice says, "Talik Ma! Talik Ma!" And as he says it, you see the water starts to roil around this stingray-like creature, and this huge tentacle bursts up out of the water and starts like snaking through the air towards the falling figure of your Mirallanan companion. Yatu, as you're sort of falling through the air, sort of flailing around, you see the water getting closer. You can just about make out this small like manta ray down below with some people on its back. Then this huge slimy tentacle bursts out of the water with a loud crashing sound and starts like, almost like whipping up in your direction. You see it's like zooming through the air towards you.
Okay, so I'm falling through the air. I'm flailing all over. There's like huge winds and the rain. I'm like, my blaster rifle is probably strapped across my chest, but it's on my back, and I'm just spinning in the air trying to get at my blaster rifle because I think it's a huge sea monster that's gonna eat me. So I'm just desperately trying to get at my blaster, but it's behind my back and I can't really get to it now. So I'm just spinning around real wildly.
Okay, it's just sort of wildly flailing around and trying to reach your blaster rifle. This slimy tentacle wraps around your waist, sort of driving the wind out of your lungs, and then pulls you downwards towards this manta ray-like creature, this small grey triangle amidst the water. And as it pulls you closer, those of you on the manta ray watch this tentacle sort of reeling him in effectively. It drops you on top of this manta ray, and then the tentacle disappears below the water. You sort of land coughing and spluttering, covered in rain, a huge blaster mark on your chest, a bit of smoke still rising from you. And as you pull yourself into a sitting position, you can see Gribbly and Crude and these three Nortolans on the back of this manta ray.
What the shit was that?
A rescue. Come on. So,
no, a rescue is running into a shower of blaster bolts. That was a sea monster. What the shit?
You're stood on that sea monster right now. Have a little respect.
Ah! I started rolling around.
The rider of this creature shouts something in this strange language, and the Nortolan stood nearest to you, Gribbly, looks down at you and he says, "The storm is fading. We return to Redwater."
Don't we have business here, guys? We want to be here, don't we?
Not right now, no. They have the Night Dragon.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll get another ship.
No, I mean, they have the Night Dragon and they have the Night Dragon's guns. If we stick around, they're gonna blow us up.
Oh, yeah, they find us. It's a city.
As you're having this discussion, the manta ray that you're on starts to move. It appears to be trying to sort of circle around Tsunador and head off to the east.
Yeah, look, we've got to decide now if we're staying in this city or if we're going to Redwater.
They'll just shoot us down again, surely.
Well, we're people. That's a city-sized place. At the moment, they think we're dead anyway.
As you're saying this, you can see that all of the Nortolans are sort of like, as this thing started to move, are basically kneeling down and holding on to the sort of bumpy skin of this stingray. As it starts to pick up speed, you can see foam being kicked up on either side, almost like the contrails of an aircraft or perhaps a speedboat as it starts to gather speed, so bumping through the water.
Let's go to Redwater. Maybe they got good ships there.
Yeah, we can always come back for the hacker.
Oh, that's right. We're meant to get someone, aren't we? Yes. Good call. Right. We'll get a different transport ship and try again.
Chances are he's going underground anyway.
I don't know if that expression works on this planet.
Underwater, then? I'm not sure how that... Let's just go.
Okay, this sort of large manta ray picks up speed. You watch as it circles round Tsunador and begins heading off to the east, moving at quite a rapid speed. You see the other manta rays that were joining in the attack on the city appear to have also disengaged, and the storm is slowly starting to die away a little. They appear to be have been using the storm as cover for their attack, perhaps, and they're now retreating as the storm is fading away. You've probably got a few hours before this creature reaches Redwater as it just races across the surface, the ocean surface of this planet. Is there anything you guys wish to do or discuss while you're on the back of this manta ray? You've got a bit of time.
I would say about half an hour into this journey, I suddenly gasp and go, "Fuck! I left Kaiba behind!"
What, a crystal or something?
No, my lost cat!
You left your cat?
Well, exactly by itself. Lost cats don't... I haven't trained him yet to come when ordered.
Oh.
I sort of slap sir. You go across like sort of.
Okay, no problems. A few hours later, you see what appears to be another one of these sort of oil rig style cities in the distance. However, this one looks to be a lot more run down than Tsunador. It doesn't have the large sort of weather control stations, etc. on there. It looks a lot more ramshackle, a lot more grimy and run down. As you're getting nearer to it, you can see that the ocean around it is littered with what appear to be the wrecks of a number of ocean-going vessels.
Oh, look, quaint transport, some kind of local thing that doesn't even lift out the water. Wow, that must be so slow.
As you're getting near, you can see that there don't appear to be any sort of like cargo lifts or anything similar like there were in Tsunador, but you can see what appeared to be a large number of sort of ropes and chains hanging down from the structure of Redwater. And as you're sort of looking at it, you can see on the sort of scaffolding underneath it, there's a mixture of humans, Nortolans, and Twi'leks, all bearing these red tattoos, sort of like some of them holding spears, some of them holding blaster rifles, others holding more primitive weapons, who are basically sort of dotted around on this substructure underneath Redwater.
Oh, they were expected.
I start stroking my chin as I consider how I can use this force against the Imperials. Interesting.
Okay, as you get to the edge of Redwater, this manta ray that you're riding on the back comes to a stop. One of the Nortolan with the sort of dark blue skin who you've been talking to, Gribbly, he gestures with his blaster rifle at one of these large chains hanging down and says, "Up."
Up the... climbing.
Yes.
Perhaps we can show you some anti-gravity technology. Could be really useful for situations like this, you know? Maybe even a primitive lift of some kind, you know, hydraulic. Got lots of water, you can do hydraulics.
One of the other Nortolans says something, and the Nortolan with the dark blue skin you've been talking to turns to him and says, "No, we'll take them to see Jones. He can decide what to do with them."
So let's climb up.
Now the storm has faded away. It's a fairly easy climb. It's quite a large chain. You scramble up it. You can hear a fair amount of like excited chatter from in this sort of strange like primitive dialect or slang from these Nortolans and these sort of tribal Twi'leks and humans dotted around the substructure as you're climbing up to the main level of Redwater. Like I say, everything looks a little more primitive here. It's almost as though this place was once similar to Tsunador, but it's been allowed to fall into disrepair. The buildings are all sort of patched up in a very primitive style. There's tarpaulins covering holes in buildings. It's almost as though someone had taken like an oil rig and then built like a shanty town on top of it. You can see sort of like pelts from various like aquatic animals hanging around. You see people with spears on their shoulders walking around. Everyone you see has these red tribal tattoos. They have various different markings, but you're not sure of the significance of them. Although you probably cast an appraising eye over them, Yatu. They're quite detailed work. Obviously, you've some experience.
Oh yeah,
yourself.
You bet it. I'm ogling these dudes.
You'll climb up onto the main level of Redwater. You're followed by the blue-skinned Nortolan who was talking to Gribbly. He gestures at you and says, "Follow me," and he starts leading you towards basically a large sort of hut that appears to have been built out of cannibalized parts of industrial buildings, girders, metal plates, etc. All sort of like tied together with that leather thonging and the hides of various animals. But it's a good deal larger than the other huts, almost like a sort of a roundhouse in the center of this odd conglomeration of primitive and modern technology. He gets to the door of it, gestures inside, and the door's little more than like a hide hanging over a hole in the wall. And he says, "Jones is in there. He will decide what to do with you." And he gestures with his blaster rifle at the door.
Sorry, deciding what to do with us. I see. So I'll go for the door. "Hello, Jones."
Okay, no problems. As you walk into the room, you can see what appears to be an old man wearing the tattered remnants of a rebellion jumpsuit. You can see that the entirety of his left arm appears to be robotic, quite a primitive looking sort of cybernetic augmentation. He has a long grey beard. He's got quite a sort of tanned face, deeply lined. As you enter, he looks up. He appears to be looking at an old, actually cracked data pad as you walk in. As you say, "Hello, Jones," he looks up and he's like, "Who the devil are you?"
Has he got any insignia on his clothing?
You can see that on the sort of shoulder pad of his cybernetic arm, there is a faded and chipped sort of rebellion symbol, but it's like, say, the paintwork's very chipped. It looks like it must have been there for quite some time.
Can I discern his rank at all anywhere on this jacket?
Make me a focus roll. Is any difficulty 2?
I do indeed, I think.
Okay. You think, look, it takes you a while to look at it, because like I say, it's quite badly chipped, but as you look at it, you think he must have held the rank of commander in the Rebel Alliance.
Commander Jones. Interesting to come across a legend such as you this far out.
He laughs with very little humour and sort of flexes his mechanical arm. You can hear it sort of, it's quite, like I say, it's quite primitive. It sort of whirs loudly as he does so. He puts down his data pad and he says, "Well, it wouldn't be surprising at all if you knew me or my history. After all, where else would they stick an embarrassment like me but a god's forsaken place like this?"
Well, I've always been a strong believer in redemption myself.
He laughs again.
Still keeping up the good fight, though, I hope.
Well, I can.
Well, I'm here to sort of activate you. I need a little help.
And what sort of help do you need? And more importantly, why would I give it in the first place? We've got our own problems here without outsiders coming in.
What problems do you face? Maybe I can help with some of those.
What do you mean, what problems do we have? The same problem that the rest of this damn sector has. The Empire's tightening its grip every day. And most of those pencil pushers in the Alliance aren't even willing to do anything about it.
That's kind of why I'm here. I'm on a mission. But I need another ship. One the Imperials don't recognize.
Well, you won't find any ships here. Look about. Does it look like we've got technology to spare in Redwater? Most of the people here are the original descendants of the original settlers from Coles too. They've adopted a more spiritual way of living. I was a little bit sceptical when I first came here, but well, it seems to work for them, and well, at least they don't believe in bowing down to anyone and letting them be their master, which is more than I can say for the rest of the damn Alliance.
I notice you do have blasters, though, so could quite easily go take one.
If you want a blaster,
No,
you're welcome to take
I
one.
mean a ship. To take a ship with blasters.
I suppose we could take a ship if we wanted, but what good would that do us? After all, we've got our own interests on this world. At which point the blue-skinned Nortolian you were speaking to earlier enters the room and he says something in this strange dialect. You don't catch exactly what he's saying, but you do catch the words "night dragon." At which point Captain Jones looks quite interested and he says, "My friend here tells me that you came here in the Night Dragon, is that correct?"
Yes.
Then where's my old friend, Captain Corvant?
I believe it's been some time since Corvant has owned the vessel.
Yes, I did wonder why he stopped his supply runs here. Most inconvenient, I've had to find alternate suppliers of materials. I've even had to deal directly with those damn Trandoshans.
So, do I take it that you build weapons here?
We don't build them here, but I know where I can get hold of them. And with my friend Corvant, we arranged for raw materials to be bought in. But like I say, since he disappeared, I've had to make my own arrangements.
Might be.
And with the ICB tightening up their grip on the planet, it's getting more and more difficult to bring things in.
Might be able to help you out there. What raw materials do you need?
Metals, ore, parts, components, microchips for the circuitry inside the blasters, that sort of thing.
Okay, make a list. We'll go get a ship and we'll sort you out.
He looks a little suspicious and he says, "And why would you want to help me out?"
Because I have a buyer for the weapons.
Who?
The Rebel Alliance.
At which point he laughs and sort of like smacks his metallic hand down on the table. And he says, "Oh, I only wish that was the case. It's about time the Alliance got off their backsides and did something about the Empire. But, well, too few of them have the will to do anything about it now. They're quite happy with the status quo as it is. Taking out a supply ship here, taking out some Stormtroopers there. Nothing that really affects any change."
Because they had money but not guns.
At which point his face grows a little softer. He looks at you in a slightly more gentle voice, says, "Listen, I can see that you have good intentions, but take it from me, I've been fighting in the rebellion for many years, and all that'll happen to you if they think you've become too extreme or you're making too many waves, forgive the pun, you just find yourself exiled to some backwater planet like this. Take my word for it."
Well, not to gainsay you, but we're friends with Commander Adarian Dane, and Dane doesn't seem to mind. He's buying our guns too, so. And would you mind? And I sort of, I presume this is his like space, and he has a chair there.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to go and usher him out of his own chair because I need to sit down because I got shot in the chest with the blaster a couple of times. Would you mind? Just sort of go there and start pushing out of his chair.
He doesn't make any complaints. He just sort of steps out of the chair and lets you sit down.
Then he slump down. I go, "Oh fuck."
"Dane, what's that fool got to do with anything?"
Dane's gearing up for something big, I guess. We gave him some info and a lot of guns from your friend, the captain there, who, by the way, got iced on Blimp.
As you say, this is like, what? Corvant's dead?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the Stormies got to him. And he got into a firefight on an open landing platform. You do the math.
He nods and says, "I always told Corvant that hot head of his was going to be the death of him one of these days. I'd hoped that wasn't going to be the case, but well, when he stopped making his regular supply runs, I knew something had happened to him."
Yeah. But to get back to your original topic, I think our boy Dane here is... Well, he's going to do something about all this, not just with the pencils and the documents and stuff. He wants guns.
He laughs and says, "Oh, that'll be the day. Who do you think it was who sent me here?"
I just look at him blankly.
Look at the irony of it. Dane supporting your lifestyle as you become richer and richer on the rock he sent you to.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Commander Dane talks a good game. He's great for the rhetoric about striking back against the Empire and freeing up this sector the common man. But when it actually comes to putting himself on the line or putting him or his men in danger, he'll back out like he always does. He's not willing to make the necessary sacrifices to throw off the river, throw off the Empire.
Well, shit. At least he has credits. Oh shit! I think I'm bleeding on your chair. Oh.
It's fine. Fully half of this building is made out of skins that I cut myself from the various sea predators that surround Redwater. I don't think a little blood's going to
No,
do
wait.
any harm.
You guys have razor squids here, right?
Yes.
And I get up from the chair now, revitalized, even though I'm still obviously messed up. I want to see one of those. Can I fight them?
As this conversation's going on, Gribbly, the sort of blue-skinned Nortolan has been sort of stood behind you, leans in next to your ear, and he says, "What does your friend think that you rode here on?"
I believe he's just been shot in the chest twice with a blaster, so he's not quite with it. I should probably tend to those wounds, but...
Yeah, do you guys have any Bacta? I kind of lost mine.
Well, frankly, it might just be a necessary sacrifice. We must stay on mission first. Commander Jones, I need a ship.
Well, you might be able to book passage on one of the supply ships from the foundry, but we don't have any ships here. The best I could do is the next time the Trandoshans bring a shipment in, you could see if you could book passage on.
It's not what I mean.
On their vessel.
You have men with guns.
Yes.
I want them to take a ship.
We normally only launch raids on places like Tsunador when we have the storms covering us. The Stormtroopers have superior technology, armor, weapons. If we would just ride in there, it'd be like shooting fish in a barrel. If I'm going to be asking my people to put their lives on the line, I need to know it's going to be worthwhile.
Damn it. This is the problem with washed up rebels. They just don't have the balls for the fight anymore.
I say that he smashes his metallic fist down on the desk in front of where you're sitting, Yato, and literally just sort of smashes his desk into two pieces.
Whoa, shit! And I fall down on his chair onto the floor.
He turns around and he jabs a metal finger in your direction, Gribbly, and he says, "And let me ask you a question, whatever your name is. How many times have you been captured and tortured by the Empire?"
Captured a few times, but never long enough to be tortured because I'm highly skilled.
Well, let me tell you, I've suffered through 6 months of their torture, and I never revealed what I knew, so don't talk to me about who's washed up and who fights the Empire. When you've had to make sacrifices, even your own body and your men who are under your command, then come and talk to me about sacrificing to deal with the Empire.
Fine, we'll sort our wounds out, and take one of the razor squids and be on our way.
He nods curtly.
We'll get the factories by ourselves.
If you wish, my men will take you to the foundry.
Yes.
But I'm not going to ask them to risk their life in a suicidal assault on Tsunador. Not without the cover of a storm, anyway.
It's okay. We'll take a ship ourselves.
As you wish. While this is going on, what's Crude up to?
So Crude is just sort of going through everything in the room, scrambling around, attempting to find any kind of factor or like adrenaline shot or something, because, you know, sort of talking about getting a ship for some random missions going to happen in the future, but geez. So if Gribbly ever sort of interjects and says, "Oh, we need to do the mission ahead," I just say, "Well, I'm not going anywhere without Yatu, and you're not going to have anyone to pilot this damn ship." So I'm just sort of rummaging around.
Okay, you're sort of... Yeah, you're rummaging around. There doesn't seem to really be much in the way, aside from like a few blasters, there doesn't really seem to be much in the way of like high technology here. It's all quite primitive. So you don't see any... There's like a few bandages and stuff you could use to like bind your wounds, but there's no like Bacta tanks or anything like that knocking about. Not even a stim pack.
Don't even have stim packs here. What is this?
As you say that, Commander Jones looks in your direction. He says, the Redwater natives believe it's a sign of weakness to use technology to overcome one's injuries. They believe that only by recovering naturally can you grow strong and learn from your
That's why there's
injuries.
so little of you left.
That sounds hardcore. I say delirious from the pain on the floor.
Shush. Let me get some bandages. Have you not even got some kind of ointment or liquid to ease the pain?
Hey, they have those cool tattoos. Bring in a guy with a needle and we can get to work.
No.
Jones points at what appears to be like a sort of oil drum, and he's like, that might be of some use to you, but I'd advise you to be sparing with it.
What, fish oil?
Not exactly. You'll understand if you pop the top off it.
Okay, and I tell Yati to just sort of keep quiet and say, "Look, you're the best shot I've got. You're not going." And I reluctantly take the top off this barrel.
Okay, you take the top off the barrel, and inside this oil drum is what appears to be a light blue tinted liquid. You recognise the smell. It smells very much like the aqua that you bought off the dealer
Oh.
a while ago. However, this smells a lot stronger, almost like it's like concentrated.
Ooh.
A+. Super meth.
I see what you mean. Okay, I'm looking at it thinking, no, I shouldn't have any, like, I should just give it to Yatu, but I want to self-compel, since I love to self-indulge. I can't help take some for myself.
That's fine, you can have a fate point for that.
Although I'm not going to take my own dose now, it's going to be at some point. But I definitely get a dose for Yatu. Quite a big dose. Because, you know, he's...
How do you intend to apply this dose? Obviously, previously you got it in like a sort of a needle, whereas this is just like a big vat full of it.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sort of rummaging around, but the needle's gone from the fall. How do you... You haven't got any needles?
He takes what appears to be a small knife off his belt, and he just like throws it onto the remains of his desk in front of you. The Redwater natives harvest this from the razor squid. They use it in a lot of their rites of passage. They believe it's a spiritual journey that they have to go on. When they're applying their markings, they adorn their knives with this. And he gestures at the
You're
oil drum.
joking, right?
Do I look like I'm
Sounds
joking?
cool.
It just sounds so much more
I'll take
vivid
2.
and beautiful. It's a drug, man. It's an addict. It's a substance. Loads of people take this back on the mainland.
To the people in the larger cities who simply buy it for credits, it is a drug. To those who risk life and death here in Redwater to harvest it from the wild razor squids, it is a spiritual reward for their labours, and they believe it brings them closer to their gods.
Uh-huh. You don't happen to export this, do you? Like, surely you must get a load of money if you do. You know, you can spin that story as well, make it all exotic sounding.
We do sell some from time to time, only a little, since we do require supplies to maintain Redwater, things that we cannot afford, and we also have to pay for the natural resources for the foundry.
Looking at that barrel, you could get over 2,000 for that. I think you're missing out. And I go over and give the like the needle, or this crude weird ass coming of age gizmo thing to Yatu.
Okay, so it's literally just like a sort of slightly curved knife that he's sort of given you. So you hand this like small, almost like dagger-sized, like curved knife to Yatu.
Okay, well, knock yourself out. I think you just scoop it up.
Is there stuff on the knife, or is the knife supposed to be the spoon that you?
Oh, I didn't think of that. I just, it's a knife. I thought you just cut yourself open, but that's a fair point. Get back here, and I dip it into the aqua, and then here then, I guess. And
Okay. So Crude dips this sort of curved knife into the aqua and brings it over to you. As you're looking at it closely, you can see that actually in the blade are sort of small grooves, like channels carved, which appear to hold some of the aqua. It's almost like, if you think of like the end of a fountain pen where it's got like a little reservoir that sort of holds the liquid, it's almost like that.
Well,
and you're just holding this knife, you can see a single like drop of this light blue, like semi-viscous liquid hanging on the edge of it.
Yeah, so I take it and I look to the ye old rebellion commander here, just to like I'm gonna take it to my mouth, not into my mouth, but I'm gonna be like and I'm looking at him to signal me if I'm doing it right or not.
His expression remains unchanged, but as you're sort of raising it to your mouth, the Nortolan who's been stood behind Gribbly just sort of like steps forward and holds his hand up, and then he points at like this long spiraling tattoo on his arm, and he makes like a
okay, well,
gesture.
I go like, say no more, and I I throw my vest open with my giant ice worm tattoo all over my chest and my back, and I just stick it in and start carving a line across my chest.
Okay. As you do so, at first, obviously, it's incredibly painful because you've just stabbed yourself. However, as you're sort of drawing it across and this liquid starts flowing into the cut that you've made, at first you get a slight numbing sensation, and then like a feeling of warmth and sort of calmness starts to spread out as this liquid starts to make its way into your system. Gribbly and Crude, as you're watching, as this is being done, you notice that Yatu's eyes slowly start to change into this light blue colour. And this sort of slightly spaced out smile like starts to form in his face.
Well, hopefully that'll swim out for a little bit.
So I'm just smiling from ear to ear, cutting myself on the chest.
Do you just let the wound close up of its own accord?
The blue-skinned Nortolan says, yes, that is our way.
That's not what I asked. Whether it's your way or not.
Then have I misunderstood? What did you ask? You were asking whether we let the wound close on its own. Yes,
Well,
we
you
do.
said, yes, it's your way, so I was wondering if there was an alternative.
I believe there are those who buy it in the city who see this as entertainment. They have other ways of getting it into their body, but we believe that is blasphemy to take such a holy liquid that many have given their lives to harvest and use it as simply entertainment. Not sell any of this at all, but we appreciate, as Commander Jones has told us, sacrifices must be made for the greater good.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. I finish making the carving, and I stand up, looking really spaced out. And I guess my eyes are all blue now.
Yeah.
And I just go. I look at the Nortolan guy. I'm like, yeah, all that sounds good. Let's go find some squids. I sort of smack him in the chest, all brotherly, and just start walking out the door with the knife in my hand.
He laughs and sort of like puts his hands gently on your shoulder and says, my friend, I would not say for you to go and fight the wild razor squid after you've partaken in this great sacrament. It is normally our tradition that those who are making their rite of passage into manhood hunt the razor squid and then celebrate with this sacrament afterwards.
Oh shit, I didn't know. Well, can't we do it now?
I admire your bravery wanting to hunt the razor squid in your current state.
I'm feeling great.
But yes, I'm sure you are. However, what you're feeling at the moment is not good for the hunt.
Now the hunt. Apparently, as Rhodians are supposed to be good at that, although I never took an interest in it. Very different from yours, though, with jungle creatures. So my parents would sometimes go and watch hunts. These huge, burly Rhodian men with spears, little tiny wyverns as well. It was a little bit odd, and they'd run really fast through the jungles and just try and spear down anything they could see.
When we hunt, it is our way that those stepping into manhood will sail out from Redwater into the territory of the wild razor squid on a small, and he looks at Jones and says, raft. Jones just nods. Raft. They take with them only their spears and their knives. Those who survive return with this blessed liquid to prove that they have killed one of the wild razor squid. Many of them do not return at all. Many are injured or die. But that is the way of Redwater and of my people. Only those who are strong survive. Those who are weak perish.
See, that's the thing. I've got a good sense of smell, but spear throwing, nah. Why would you bother with spears when you can just have guns? Guns do the trajectory and all that for you.
Because there is no bravery in aiming one of your guns at someone and pulling and again he looks at Jones and Jones says, the trigger. Pulling the trigger from a great distance away. There is bravery and honour in meeting a mighty foe with only a spear and knife between you and him.
Oh, I see. You're thinking of sniper rifles. I agree with you. People who, lie on the ground and try and get someone off from 500 feet away. That's cowardly. But these are quite close range, very similar to spears.
At this point, I would like to offer a compel to Gribbly related to your falling out with the rebellion. And the compel I'm going to suggest is that obviously now he's had a bit of time to sort of study you and listen to you talk and sort of try and work out who you are, that perhaps Commander Jones may recognise you from your prior days in the rebellion.
Uh-oh. Okay.
So you can have a fate point for that. Jones has been sort of sat there with his good hand on his chin, and he looks towards you, Gribbly, and he says, "What's your name, anyway?"
Gribbly.
Gribbly. Wait a minute. Aren't you that Twi'lek who got in... you got in trouble with the rebellion. Something about incorrect information or something along those lines. I was on the outs myself at that point in time, so I don't recall the specifics. But yes, I remember you were cast out, weren't you?
Reassigned.
At which point he chuckles a little bit, reaches inside the wreckage of his desk, pip flask, and just hold out in your direction. He says, "Well, we're all outcasts of one sort or another in Redwater."
I look at the hip flask and nervously reach to it. I am, well, yes, reassigned of a fashion, and I'll take a swig.
Okay, as you pop the top, it's effectively like a sort of a moonshine of some variety in this flask. A very pungent odour wafts out of it. It's like a 1 part whiskey, 1 part engine oil as you unscrew the top of it.
And after the swig, it's
Commander Jones smiles and says, "Good stuff, isn't it? Made it myself."
What with?
Well, one of the old power plants from when they were setting up this place doesn't work anymore. But I've managed to convert it into a rudimentary still. I've not forgotten all of my skills. Granted, I had to scrounge for the parts here and there. It took me a while, but well, I do like a little nip every now and again. Keep the cold away.
It's only not meant to use battery acid in it.
For the first time, he laughs in what sounds like a genuinely good-humoured laugh, and he said, "Well, no, perhaps not, but given my age," and then he sort of like looks down at his mechanical arm that he flexes, "I don't think it's going to be the lick that kills me somehow."
The mission, however, is real.
But given that you're something of an outcast like myself, Gribbly, I'm inclined to help you. Like I say, I won't risk my people to do so, but if there's anything else I can do to help you, I will. If just to see the smirk wipe off a Darian Dane's face.
Well, we do need the weapons factories. We need to make contact with somebody in Tsunador. And we do need either another ship or the Night Dragon back, but ideally another ship.
I just the fact that they've been in there and sat in my chair. They've tainted it with their imperial fingers.
Probably pet your cat as well.
Oh, no, don't say that.
Well,
Hopefully he'll claw their faces.
if the ICB's got hold of your ship, no doubt they're going over it with a fine tooth comb. Like I say, all this business with the Lakari plague's got them running scared. They're going over every ship, inch by inch. I wouldn't be surprised if they've not taken the damn thing apart by now.
That's why we need an Imperial ship.
Let me think. An Imperial ship.
One they wouldn't think to look at.
Well, I know where you could potentially get a civilian ship from. You'd have to steal it, obviously, but... There's so much tourism and people visiting at Coral City. I'm sure you could boost a ship from there, but like I say, it'd be civilian.
They would inspect it. If we're going to fill the hull up with arms, we need one they won't look at.
Well, the only place I think you'll get an Imperial ship is on a Calareth, but that place will be swarming with Imperial troops. It's where the planetary ruler lives. It'll be quite dangerous. But I think that's the only place you're going to find a lot of Imperial ships.
So we need to get the guns to Calareth and load them up, or get the ship from Calareth and load up later.
I can certainly get you to Calareth, but from there you'll be on your own.
Where do the guns come from?
The foundry.
We have a hidden foundry. It's one of the original settlements that they built on this planet. It was long abandoned, a small scientific station. We've managed to repair it and restore some of its functionality. Luckily, since it's believed to have been destroyed, it's not on any of the local maps.
Mm. Well, I think we get the guns and we get to Calareth and we lift off, right? No big deal.
Ideally, we steal the ship and go straight out before they recognize it's stolen. So we need to get the guns first. We need to load the guns onto the ship we're stealing. That actually makes it more convincing if we turn up with pallet loads of goods.
Well, I can probably get you a few crates of blasters, but any more would take a little bit longer.
Then let's take a little bit longer.
Oh yeah, I can get a tattoo while we wait for the guns.
Oh, for God's sake.
I think if you want a tattoo, you're going to have to hunt a squid.
The blue Nortolan nods.
Okay, so let's go. I grab his arm, start going outside the door. Let's go get a squid then.
If they gave tattoos for enthusiasm, you wouldn't have any bare flesh left.
As you're sort of trying to steer this Nortolan towards the door, Yatu, the blue Nortolan looks back. He looks towards you, Gribbly, and he says, "You might want to come and watch this. You'll probably find it funny."
All right.
And he starts like leading you out. As you're walking out, you see that no doubt, obviously, word of you guys arriving has spread, and there's a lot of these Nortolans and Twi'leks dotted about. As you walk out of this roundhouse, Yatu, you see this crowd of people who have gathered around. There's young warriors there, sort of older members of the tribe, men, women, children, etc. However, literally, like, every woman you lock your eyes on is like the most beautiful woman you've like ever seen in your life.
Whoa. Whoa! And I just stand there for a while. There's a what?
All of the assembled tribes people seem a little bit confused at first. Then when they sort of like notice his like blue eyes, they're all like pissing themselves laughing.
And I turn to my Notolan friend and go, "Are you guys all from like the same genetic pool? Are you doing some heinous shit here? Because
He looks confused.
you look beautiful, and in the same way. So, are you like clones, or are you related?"
He looks at you, and then he sort of, you see a bit of comprehension dawning behind his eyes, and he laughs and says, "I see the blessed liquid has affected your
Brain?
I tap Yatu on the shoulder
right.
a couple of times and say, small island community.
And I look to Gribbly and I go, "Whoa!"
The blue Nortolan leans over to you, Gribbly, and he says, "There is a reason why the celebrations when the young braves return are so big. The sacrament, it makes for a good celebration." He seems to be struggling to like put into words what he's trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna go because we're waiting for the crates and the stuff before we go. So
It's going to be some time, yeah. Time
So,
to
yeah.
formulate a plan in.
okay, good. And I start walking towards the crowd. I'm like, "Hey, friends, my beautiful friends. I come from space."
Okay, you see Yatu sort of like quite spaced out, so like walking into this crowd, and they're also like laughing and like sort of patting him on the back as he's like walking with this crowd, like, "Whoa, man!"
So what else do you do around here to entertain yourselves?
At which point, Jones, besides looking at young fours who are tanked up on aqua, you mean?
Yes. Do you play cards? Do you drink? Do you bet? Sure, you bet on the fellas who are going to come back or not.
He shakes his head and said, "No, it is a sacred rite. However, we sing, we do drink, we celebrate, we commiserate those who have fallen, we tell stories of those who have gone before. Perhaps,
Well, something at
Good
least.
grief, it's like being holed up with Ewoks.
Wait,
perhaps if
Ewoks? You've been to Endor?
No, it's an expression.
Oh, okay. I was going to say Endor is way out.
perhaps since you are from far away," says the blue Nortolan, "you will tell us of your stories."
Sorry, which of us?
Any of you, everyone has stories.
Saw some stormtroopers, killed him.
Well, perhaps not him, he says, and he put Yatta was still like, "Whoa, man," and like moving through the
I'm
crowd.
just going, "My friends, my beautiful friends. I come from space, and whoever is good to me, I'm gonna take you to space with me when I go back to space."
Oh,
my
you're going
space
to pilot the ship,
vehicle.
Yatu. Not you.
Yeah, I'm addressing the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you can hear from Yatta, it's like, "Space, space, space." Okay, as addressing the crowd, Yatu, you suddenly see one of the young women of the tribe who's stood in front of you, like her door just like drops open, and she points sort of like behind you and appears to be like pointing at something in the distance.
Oh, I'm gonna be here all night. And day, probably.
Okay, and
Because this shit is some awesome stuff. Woo!
okay, and at this point, to sort of like wrap up the session, I'm going to do a tide change.
Ooh!
For anyone who's not aware, is basically when I ask each of the players to suggest a plot twist, we then get people to vote on it on the Tides of Change Facebook group, and whichever one gets the most votes, that will be the sort of cliffhanger ending for this session and the start of next session. So, do any of you want to go first? What I'm basically going to ask you, what was this young woman seen approaching Redwater? If anyone wants to go first.
How about a large school of wild raisins? No, that would be too, because you just know Yatu's going to jump in the water.
Oh yeah.
He's just like, whoa,
Oh, yeah.
man, squid!
He's gonna face plant into the water. And he cut himself too, so there's blood in the water.
Plus you are like covered in basically their goo.
Yeah.
Yeah, what if... Well, could it be an Imperial ship? Could it be a Star Destroyer arriving in the system?
If you want the twist to be a Star Destroyer turns up, I'm fine with that.
I'm not going to say it. No, not going to say it. I'm not going to say the S word.
Say what?
Star Destroyer piloted by a Sith Lord.
I said loud! Come to preach to the populace.
Because they're well known for doing that.
Okay, so Star Destroyer.
Okay, so
This
Becky,
is
you
all
want
this
to go with the Star
imaginary-
Destroyer?
Yes, a Star Destroyer looms menacingly in the sky, presumably heading towards Calareth.
Oh, I've got an idea.
Okay, go for it.
Although, like, I haven't thought of all the little bits of this because I suddenly thought actually this could be quite detailed. But some kind of rebel ship, fairly small, so maybe a sort of a five-seater sort of ship, come back to essentially grant this commander sort of more boons coming back into the official group of the rebellion, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah,
They're going to try and entice him back.
So some sort of small rebel ship trying to bring Lincoln Jones back into the fold.
Yeah, so they come to basically convince him to return, and you might get a promotion type thing.
That's absolutely fine. So what about crazy tripped out Yatu Deng? What's your
I really
suggestion?
want to go for the wild school of razor squids, but that's a little bit too self-indulgent, even though so was the iceworm. I'm going to go for it's an amphibian spaceship, so it goes on water as well. It's not a large one, but still, it's a space boat of Trandoshan arms dealers who are coming here for a shipment, because these guys deal to the Blood Clan as well.
Okay.
So they're coming in to pick up
That's fine.
stuff that I presume that we are going to be picking up as well. So
Okay, that's fine. So what we'll do now is I'll post this on the Tides of Change group. We'll take a 10-minute break. When that's done, we'll come back and we'll do the wrap up, and that'll be where we'll start next session. So I will see you all in 10 minutes, guys.
yeah.
So yes, I brought the animated graphics today.
Sorry, what was that?
I was just saying I've brought the animated graphics today.
I saw, man. Very nice.
That's just my channel intro stuff.
Why not, man? Got to get them plugs in.
Oh, hell yeah. Improve your game at Pair of Geeks. Ba-dum.
Nice.
With dramatic sound effects and shiznit.
Very nice.
Hell yeah.
Well, currently we're looking at like a 3-way tie on the tide change.
Are we? Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. Which technically means that all of them would be happening. Which might be interesting.
I need to go there and make sure it stays a 3-way tie then.
Yeah, I see. I see. Hmm.
Give it another 5 minutes and we'll see where we are.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it's going to be an Imperial Star Destroyer at the minute.
Oh, no. We've got to have all of them.
Oh yeah.
Let's go back and do some voting.
Let's get the botnet on.
Damn. No, that's gone by too much, isn't it? I can't swing that. I need more Facebook accounts. I wanted to rig it and really fuck us up. But fuck it, let's do them all and throw in the squid.
I'm all for that. I can deal with the squid.
Well, I'm afraid the Star Destroyer's 2 ahead now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can't swing it.
It had to happen sometime.
Okay, so if you guys are all ready, as the end credits start to play for this session, you all turn to follow the outstretched and slightly shaking finger of this young native woman as she points up into the sky. And as you look, you see this huge triangular shadow making its way across the ocean surface of the planet of Coals 2. And as you follow it up in high orbit, you can just about make out the unmistakable wedge shape of an Imperial Class 1 Star Destroyer, a huge vessel. You see the shadow appears to be heading northwest towards the capital city of Calareth. And as the scene begins to fade and the end credits start to roll, and we hear the unmistakable monotone tune of the Imperial Death March beginning faintly in the background, that is where we draw an end to this evening's session. But look on the bright side, at least now you know there are some Imperial vessels in Calareth.
Yeah, we can jack that.
That one needs too many crew, but it'll have a shuttle on board.
Operation Steal the Star Destroyer.
I can jury rig something. I'm sure.
I'm thinking it's got shuttles we can have.
Oh yeah,
we're going on board that.
Okay. So, that is where we draw an end to the session. So thank you very much for playing, guys. I hope that was okay for you.
No problem. Thank you.
With all your sort of watery hijinks, and the next session will be you guys trying to watery hijinks. You're on a water planet. There was hijinks.
Water jinx.
Well, what were you thinking?
Sound like a euphemism.
I mean, yeah. Well, there was tentacles as well, so.
Exactly.
And obviously, next session will be you guys attempting to infiltrate a Star Destroyer, perhaps, and steal a shuttle.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
In the largest Imperial occupied city on the planet.
Come up with the
what
dumbest.
could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, it should be good. Yeah, we're probably gonna steal Imperial stuff again.
Indeed, I can see from Becky's image that Gribbly is obviously in favour of that.
Woohoo!
Plan, so.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes me want to dance.
Okay, we'll pick up next time, guys. So again, thank you very much for playing, and to anyone who's watching, thank you very much for watching. I'm going to end the broadcast here.